Beautiful. All right. So go ahead and find one of those blocks or books or whatever you have, and we're just going to take a seat on it. So getting yourself propped up on that block, make sure both of those hip points, the bony points of your hips, are on the block. And then go ahead and find a seat. Maybe crisscross your legs. Let the legs just kind of, the knees just fall down from the block, finding space for those hips to open up just slightly. And then just take those hands anywhere they land, maybe on your knees, maybe on your thighs. And then think about pulling your ribs and your belly in and letting those shoulders plug into your back. Maybe finding a soft gaze at first, and then slowly letting the eyes close. From here, just begin to notice how it feels in your body. Different sensations that are coming up. Maybe in your hips. Maybe in your shoulders. And then just try to unclench your jaw if you're tightening your jaw. Just notice the block that's supporting you or the book. Your hips pressing down into it. Pressing down to lift your body up. Then take a deep breath in through your nose. Open your mouth and force that air out. 2 more times just like this. Inhale through your nose. Open your mouth and let it go. Last time here, taking in the deep breath in, filling up the lungs completely, filling up all the way up, and then pausing at the top. Open your mouth and let it go. Resume to some normal breathing. And then try to seal your lips. Breathing in and out through your nose. Finding a steady pace, letting your inhales match the length of your exhales. And then slowly begin to let your eyes open. Maybe just take those hands, remove that pressure from your legs. Maybe roll your wrists, your ankles. Finding some movement. Maybe bending the knees. Whatever feels good. And then to get started today, we're just going to let those legs go long out in front of us. So for today, we're going to think about our hips on these blocks. So you have the bottom, the bony point of your hips sitting directly on the block. So just bend the knees just slightly here if there's any discomfort that's already happening in the legs. And think about the point of your hips. So the iliac crest, that top part of your hip, and then right at the center, there's these 2 points at the front of your body where your hips are. Go ahead and just place your index finger on that point. And try to tilt up. So try to tilt those points up towards the ceiling. Notice how your back has to arch in order to do that. And then slowly begin to tilt the hips forward. So the points of the hips are forward. And then from forward, try to tilt them down. As you tilt them down, you have to bring your chest and your head forward. So we'll do that in kind of a soft rotation. We'll do it about 2 to 3 times, just working your way to tilt the hips up, going back, and then forward, and then down. So just keeping your hands on your hips, just noticing how the hips move as you go to all these different points. If you're like, I have no idea what she's talking about, that's totally okay too. We're just trying to find this rotation, this little turning sensation as we move forward. This is going to help us with our forward folds, which is later going to help us when we do inversions. So last time through, just finding all 3 different ranges and then coming up to that seated position. Taking those hands still to your hips. From here, just bend in your knees. This is a great place for a blanket as well. If you have one, if you don't have one nearby, that's okay. And then if you're on a wooden floor as well, that's the only way this blanket will work. You can place your heels on the blanket and think about just looking down at your feet. So as your toes move down towards the ground, think of your hips like your ankle, or your ankles like your hips, right? The point of your ankle where you point your toes down, and then slowly as you bring your heels up, your heels have to, or as you bring your toes up, your heels have to press down into the ground in order to lift the toes up. That sensation of pressing down to pull forward is the same sensation that's happening in your hips. You press your hips down to push yourself forward, to find that tilt in your hips. So that we're going to work on that just a little bit, keeping your knees bent. Think about your feet being pointed, or your toes being pointed up towards the ceiling. And then from here, just slowly take your hands to those hips. Think about sitting up as tall as you can and plug those shoulders into your back. Looking straight ahead, past your toes, gently begin to lead with your chest and tilt forward. We're trying to bring our belly over our thighs here. So you find this space, your hands are at your hips. Now bring your hands out in front. And try to reach those hands forward. Try to press your hips, the sit bones into the block in front of you as you lean and hinge forward. Think about those shoulders plugging into the back so that the chest can shine forward. Good. From here, if you're on that blanket, see if you can move the feet forward. If you don't have that blanket in front of you, just try to walk your heels forward on the left and then on the right. Finding space. Take a deep inhale and find length in your spine. Lift up and then try to hinge forward. Press your hips down as you come forward. One last time here. Maybe you scoot that blanket a little bit forward. Walk those toes a little bit forward. Sit up. Find length in the spine. And then lower down. From here, maybe you grab on to your feet. Think about those shoulders plugging into the back. Your chest, your sternum is going to shine forward. Your head is going to be straight. Your neck is going to be straight. You should feel this stretch in the back of your back, in the back of your back, and then right below your hips at that hip bones into the hamstrings. And then exhale. Just slowly let go of effort as you fold over. Think about where your kneecaps are. They shouldn't be splayed over to the side. They should really be facing up towards the ceiling. And then slowly walk those hands back in. Come up to a seat. From here, just let the legs go straight out in front. Let your hands come down by your sides. We're going to engage our quads now. So slowly begin to lift your right leg up off the ground. Think about your belly, your spine, or your ribs pulling in. Keep it lifted here. Notice if your leg is shaking. Mine definitely is. Notice how the quads engage, the front of the legs, and then slowly lower that down. Maybe find just a little windshield wiper back and forth. And then we'll do the same engagement on the opposite side. So lifting that leg up, holding it there. Don't forget to breathe. And then lower it down. That engagement in your quads is also going to help you in a forward fold. So let's try it one more time. Put a soft bend in your knees. Think about your hips pressing back so that your chest can move forward. That tilt in your pelvis that's happening here at your hips. And reach those arms out in front. Think about that engagement in your quads, right? That engagement in the front of the legs as you reach forward and then fold. And then slowly, slowly coming back up. Sitting on that block. Take your feet to touch together. Right here, you can move that blanket over to the side if you're using it. If not, that's okay too. Think right here about your knees dropping down towards the ground. Maybe your hands grab onto your ankles. Think about pressing those hips into the mat. You want your hips to be facing forward, not arch. You don't want to see in the spine where the belly is going in and the hips are pointing up towards the ceiling. We want to lift the hips up so that the points of the hips face forward. And then look forward right here, plug the shoulders into the back. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale, slowly begin to lead with your chest as you hinge forward. We're not folding all the way over here. We're just going about halfway, looking in front of us. Think about lowering those knees down to the ground, opening up in the inner thighs. Maybe you walk your hands out in front. From here, look forward. Think about pressing those hips back to push your chest forward, plugging those shoulders into the back, and walk a little bit more forward. Pausing here if you're getting that stretch, and just beginning to breathe. From here, just walk your hands back in. Take your hands to the outsides of the knees and just gently close them shut. From here, you can just lean over to one side, press that hand to the mat, remove that block from underneath you, that book from underneath you, and place them on either side of the mat in front of you. We'll come to those just a little bit later. From here, make your way into a tabletop position. So stacking those shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. Gently begin to take the rotation in the arms so that the elbows are facing back towards the back of the room, towards your legs. And then the eyes of the elbows, or the inner part of your elbows, are facing towards the front of the room. So it's this rotation where you actually wrap around the biceps. You leave your hands in the same position. So the fingers are all facing forward and it's just this wrap of the biceps to wrap those arms around. Think about pressing the mat away. So we're puffing up the plates in between our shoulder blades. And then you want to take your belly to your spine. Right here, finding this core foundation, you should start to begin to build some heat in that belly. You should feel that belly kick in, holding it here, pressing the mat away. Exhale. Inhale, just drop your belly, lift your chin, shine your sternum through your arms. Exhale, round the spine, tuck the chin and tailbone. Inhale, drop your belly, lift your chin. Notice what happens in the arms here as we continue to flow and move. Do those elbows flare out as you come up to your cow pose or the arched spine? Do those elbows face one another, go out, or do the elbows go out to the side, the eyes of the elbows face one another? And then you come into cat, the eyes of the elbows wrap around so they face forward. This rotation that's happening in the arms as we continue to flow and move. Doing this a few more times, just finding those cat-cows. And then meeting back at center. Think about pressing the mat away. Think about looking forward. So we're not trying to tuck our chin to our chest, but looking forward past our fingertips at the front of the mat. From here, just gently begin to walk your hands over to the right. Finding a nice deep stretch this way. Finding a twist and a turn, almost a side bend here. Think about if you're pressing your hips back in this side and really try to stack those hips over your knees. So pressing forward on the hips. And then slowly begin to walk back to center. And then go over to the other side. Really trying to keep those hips stacked over your knees, not pressing back, trying to get our hips to our heels, but really staying lifted in the hips. And then come back to center. From here, press the mat away. Lift your right arm high to the sky. And then on your exhale, thread the needle through your arm and your leg. Lower down your shoulder and your cheek. Think here. about those fingers just reaching towards the side of the room. Maybe you take that left arm and wrap it behind your back, shining that chest even more through the right side of your body. Getting the stretch in your right shoulder, maybe even a little bit into the side body space. And then take that left hand, unwrap it from behind your back if it's not already unwrapped, and plant it next to your face. Inhale, press down to that left hand as you reach that right hand high to the sky, and then lower that hand down. Think about finding a foundation, maybe a cat-cow in between. And then when you're ready, inhale, lift the left arm high to the sky. Exhale, slowly begin to thread the needle through the arm and the leg, and reaching those left fingertips all the way out. From here, you can take that right hand and wrap it behind the back, or leave it right where it's at, depending on where you're at. Shining that heart the same direction that bottom arm is moving. So really finding this twist here. Think about leaning into one hip versus the other, and see if we can stack those hips one on top of the other. And then really just lean forward, just slightly lean forward to let there be pressure to feel that stretch. Not dumping all of our weight into that shoulder, but just a little bit more. From here, just take that right hand and plant it down to the face, and then lift the right arm high to the sky. Exhale, lower that hand down. From here, we'll just find some core engagement, just a little bit of some core engagement. So find your foundation, press the mat away, look down at your fingers, spread them wide, and let your fingers press into the mat. Having that sturdy foundation, think about your toes curling under, your belly and your ribs pulling towards the thighs. Exhale, look forward at the front of the mat. Inhale, lift those knees to hover. Inhale, press the mat away. Exhale. Inhale, lift your hips high. Think about bringing your knees in towards your chest. You're on the tippy toes of your feet. Inhale, and then exhale, begin to lift the hips high as you lower the heels down. First downward dog here, so think about just gently pedaling out your feet like you're riding that bike. Pushing into one hip and then the other, feeling that stretch. And then inhale, meet back at center. Exhale, try to lower those heels down and lift the hips high. Inhale, look forward at the fingertips. And then exhale, come up onto those tippy toes and begin to walk your feet to your hands. Forward fold. First forward fold, so think about generously bending those knees. Take those hands to your hips and notice where the hip points are. They're pointed down towards the thighs. So from here, let your head and hands hang heavy. Press your heels into the mat to try to lift those hips higher. And then find your breath. Notice how your quads engage here in this forward fold. The quads engage so that the hamstrings can stretch. Maybe you grab opposite elbows and begin to rock side to side. Just letting this feel good. And then slowly begin to let the hands and head hang heavy. Come back to center. Exhale, inhale, halfway lift. Create that number 7 with your body. The shoulder blades plug into the back. The tailbone reaches back towards the back of the room. Maybe there's a soft bend at your knees. Inhale. Exhale, slowly fold over. Try to bring your nose down to your shins. And then inhale, lift all the way back up to standing. Palms come overhead, they touch. Exhale, hands to heart center. Finding just a moment here. Looking down at your toes, make sure all 10 toes are facing forward. Inhale, again to lean onto those toes, come up onto the tippy toes, lift your heels up. From here, maybe you reach the arms up overhead. And then on your exhale, lower down the heels, send those hips back to fold, bend at your knees, lower your hands down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, lower those hands down. From here, grab onto opposite elbows. Notice which hand is leading on top. Inhale, exhale, gently begin to bend at those knees, stacking your knees over your ankles, send those hips back. Try to bring it so that your chest and your belly are on those slats. Press those heels into the mat. Inhale, lift the chest and head. Chair pose. Inhale, exhale, slowly fold over, send those hips high. Inhale, let those arms come out to the side. And then exhale, switch arms on top. Inhale, lift the chest and head, send the hips down low. And then exhale, fold over. Inhale, slowly rise all the way up to standing. Palms come overhead, they touch. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms up overhead. And then exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step your right foot back, left foot is going to come in between the palms of the hands. Finding space here, take an inhale. Exhale, lower that right knee down. Uncurl your back toe. Inhale, sweep those arms up overhead, low lunge. Exhale, soften the shoulders. Pull the ribs and the belly in. Find the stretch in that right hip flexor area, the front of the thighs. Inhale. Exhale, lower down the elbows to like goalpost arms. The palms are facing towards the front of the room. We're plugging those shoulders into the back. Inhale, maybe this time you look up towards the ceiling. Press those elbows back even further. And then exhale, send the arms high. Inhale, place those hands inside of the foot as you come down. Exhale, curl that back toe under, lift that back knee. Begin to walk your hands so that they're on the long side of the mat. Pivoting on the toes, now we're in a wide-legged fold. From here, gently turn the right heel in and the right toes out. As you bend into the right knee, walk your hands to the right. From here, you can pivot so that you're on the heel of the left foot. Maybe you stay right here. Maybe you begin to reach those arms out in front of you. Or maybe you begin to slowly see if you can lift up. Taking just a variation that feels good for you. Whatever works. And then slowly begin to walk your hands back to that wide-legged fold. From here, just taking a moment, maybe you bend into those elbows and lower the head down a little bit more. Trying to get the heels slightly out, the toes in. Taking a deep breath in. And exhale, letting it go. Inhale, slowly press yourself up. Stacking your shoulders over your wrists. Begin to walk your hands towards the back of your mat to frame the right foot now. The left foot, you pivot on those toes so that you're on the toes of the back foot. And now you're at that lunge at the back of the room. From here, lower down your left knee, uncurl your left toes. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Soften the shoulders, pull the ribs in. Begin to feel the stretch in the left hip flexor. Inhale. Exhale, bend at those elbows, goalpost arms. Begin to bring those elbows behind you as you look up towards the ceiling, shine your chest. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. And then exhale, plant them inside of the foot. Curl the back toe under, lift the back knee. And then once again, we're pivoting so we're on the wide edge of the mat. Now we bend into that left knee, turn the left heel in, the left toes out, and then come onto the heel of your right foot. Maybe you stay with those hands down below, just getting that space. Maybe you walk them out in front, or maybe you see if you can lift up. Taking just a breath here, finding that space, and then slowly begin to walk those hands in, straighten both legs. Find that wide-legged fold. From here, just begin to turn those heels out, the toes slightly in, and then walk your hands forward. From here, press those hands into the mat and push your hips back, finding a wide-legged downward dog. Feeling the stretch in the hips, maybe just rock them side to side just slightly. And then slowly begin to walk those hands back in, stacking your shoulders over your wrist. Exhale, begin to walk your hands towards that left foot, back towards the front of the room, framing that front foot. From here, step your left foot back to meet your right hand pose. Think here about pressing the mat away, pulling that belly button and ribs in. Your core begins to engage. There's a little bit of fire building. Inhale. Exhale, lower down to those knees. And then slowly lower all the way down to the ground. Maybe moving those blocks just slightly off to the side if they're in your way. From here, your hands are next to your rib cage. Those elbows are pointing up towards the ceiling. Exhale. Inhale, lift your chest and head. Think about your lower ribs staying connected to the mat for this first time through. And then exhale, forehead to mat. Inhale, lift your chest and head. Exhale, forehead to mat. Inhale, lift the chest and head. On your exhale, see if you can lift the hands. Inhale, find cactus arms. Exhale, pull those elbows back. Inhale, cactus arms. Exhale, pull those elbows back. Last time, inhale, cactus arm. Exhale, pull those elbows back, lift the chest and head. Inhale, plant the hands next to the ribs, curl the toes under, lift the hips high, downward dog. Maybe you're still pedaling out your feet here. And then exhale, lower down to the knees. Send your hips back to your heels, child's pose. Finding just a moment to connect with your breath. And then slowly begin to take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. Inhale, lift the hand, or press into the hands, lift your head, come up into tabletop. From here, just grab onto those blocks and place them so they're about shoulder width distance apart. From here, we're just slowly going to lower down onto the forearms. You want your shoulders to stack over your elbows. Maybe your hands are hanging off the blocks. That's totally fine. You just want to make sure your elbows are connecting with that book or those blocks. And then slowly begin to walk your knees back. Find this place where the majority of your weight is forward. And the hips, so notice if the hips are sinking down, if the tops of the thighs are touching the mat, if the hips are touching the mat, we really want to engage the core to lift. Notice if your knees are stacked on your hips and you're sending those hips back and finding that space. We really want to walk those knees back so that our hips are lowered just slightly so that we can engage those hips. From here, we're going to slowly just lower our chest and our belly and then press up using our core. So everybody just sink down low. Let that belly and hips drop. Let the chest drop. And then engage your core. Press down through those elbows and lift up. Notice how much engagement has to happen here to really connect to lift those hips. So lower down the hips, the chest, lowering down the head, and then slowly begin to press into those elbows, lift the hips, lift the chest, lift the head. From here, slowly begin to just lean forward and lower down, and then lift up, and lean forward, lower down, and lift up. Last time, lean forward, lower down, and lift up. From here, just slowly bring those knees back in. Let your hands come to the blocks. Send your hips down to your heels. Let your head hang down towards the mat. It's not going to touch here. So think if you're tucking your chin to your chest and really try to look down towards the ground. Let your neck be long here, finding space to sink down in between your arms. Really feeling the stretch in the shoulders. Pressing those hips back into your heels. And then slowly begin to lift up. We'll work into a small flow from here, taking those blocks, placing them on either side of the mat. Pressing those hands into the mat, just gently, maybe find a cat-cow to start this flow. Connecting everything that we just learned throughout this class together. Slowly begin to curl those toes under, lift the hips high, downward dog. From here, inhale, lift the right leg high to the sky, and then exhale, slowly plant that foot in between the palms of your hands. Now we're in low lunge. You can take blocks on either side of the hands if you'd like. As you press that heel back, you don't have to use the blocks. They're just there for extra support. Wherever you're at, come up onto those fingertips. Think about hugging or pulling the belly away from that thigh as you sweep the arms up overhead, high lunge. From here, just gently begin to bend into that front knee. Inhale, exhale, cactus arms. Inhale, look up, shine the heart, and then exhale, begin to open up into a warrior two. So pivot on that back foot. It's our first time here, so bend gently into that front knee, stacking those hips over your shoulders. Think about that back hip just plugging in there, where the hip connects to, or the femur connects to the hip. And then reach those arms out in front, looking forward past your fingertips. Inhale. Exhale, flip the front palm, leave it behind you. Reaching all the way back, soften, drop that back shoulder. Inhale, warrior two. Exhale, slowly cartwheel those hands to frame the front foot. Turn onto the toes of the back foot. Walk those hands just slightly in front of the foot, and then gently begin to bend deeply into that front knee as you lift the back leg, straighten your left leg. Inhale, standing splits. Exhale, lower it down half the distance. Find your feet so they're on railroad tracks and not on a balance beam. And then turn that right foot so that it's at, your left foot so that it's at a 45-degree angle. So that back leg. And then take those blocks if you have them and just softly bend into that front knee. Think about your right hip pulling back, your left hip pulling forward. And then inhale, look forward, grow a nice long spine, and then exhale, fold. Finding your breath, smoothing it out. And then softly bend into that front knee. As you begin to lift your left leg up off the mat, stretch it back from where it was behind you and find that low lunge once more. If you have the blocks, moving them over to the side, plant the hands, and step your right foot back to meet your left, plank pose. From here, just lower down to the knees, and then lower down to your forearms. From here, stacking your shoulders over your elbows here. Begin to maybe interlace those fingers, and then take your pinky finger and wrap it underneath the other so you have a flat palm. As the hands press down into the mat, press those elbows into the mat. Begin to press the mat away, and then curl your back toes under, lift your back knees. Again, from here, begin to think of that tilt in your pelvis here as you walk the feet in. We're trying to stack our hips over our shoulders. For me, it's not quite possible right now. And then think about lowering that head down to the ground. From here, you can take an inversion if you'd like, or you can just stay here, building and working up your muscles. Think about pressing those elbows down, really finding that engagement in your shoulders. And then exhale to lower those feet down. From here, you can just lower the hips all the way down to the ground. Take those hands next to your ribs. Lift your chest and head. Finding your cobra, up dog version. Curl those toes under. Lift your hips high, downward dog. Taking that same thing, that same flow on the other side. When you're ready, lift your left leg high to the sky. Exhale, plant that foot in between the palms of the hands. Maybe you find blocks, maybe you don't. Just finding that space to come onto the fingertips and then sweep the arms up overhead. Soften the shoulders, pull those ribs in. Exhale, bend at the elbows, look up towards the ceiling. And then inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, find your warrior two. Bend into that front knee. Try to stack your hips over your shoulders here. Plug that back hip in where the femur meets the hip. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, flip the palm, sweep it behind you. Inhale, drop that bottom shoulder. And then exhale, cartwheel the hands to frame the front foot. Curl that back toe so you're on the toes of the back foot. And then step that left foot back to meet your right. From here, just lower down to the knees. Lower down onto the forearms. Find that wrap with your hands once more. Noticing how it feels. Make sure that your shoulders are stacked evenly over your elbows. So a great way to find this is to just take your hands and take them to your elbows and then slowly open up again, and this is your foundation here. So finding that foundation, maybe just taking those, grabbing onto opposite elbows and then opening back up and then interlacing the fingers. Curl your back toes under, begin to lift those hips. From here, press those elbows into the mat as you walk the feet in, trying to stack your hips over your shoulders. And then slowly making your way back down. And just lower down all the way down to your belly. Take those hands next to your ribs. Lift your chest and head. And then exhale, curl your toes under. Lift the hips high, downward dog. And then lower down the knees. Kiss the big toes together. Send your hips back to your heels, child's pose. Begin to make your exhales longer than your inhales. Begin to just slow down the body. Finding that breath. Trying to just soften. Letting that flow go. Letting your body find some rest. And then from here, just press those hands into the mat. Make your way into a table. And then slowly let the hips sink onto the floor. Move the feet over to one side. Find your way into a seat. There's a lot of stretching or a lot of strength building for our shoulders here. So we're just going to gently begin to stretch them out. So first, just find some rolls in one direction and then going in the opposite direction. From here, take your hands out to your sides, thumbs face up. Take your right elbow and bend it so that you can pat yourself on the back. From here, grab on to that right elbow with your left hand and pull that elbow so that it's towards the center of your body. From here, just find some movement with your neck, make sure it's free. And then maybe slowly begin to bend over to the left. Really finding that side body stretch. Letting this feel good. A deep breath in. A deep breath out. Remembering to pull those bottom ribs in. And then slowly come back up to center. Let both hands be free. Down to the side. Finding space in that neck. And then we'll take the left hand. Bend at the elbow. Pat yourself on the back. Grab on to that left elbow with your right hand. Just pull it to center. Think about your shoulders squaring off toward the front of the room. Pulling those bottom ribs in. Lean over to the right. Inhale, coming back to center. Let both of those arms go. Maybe rolling those wrists, rolling those arms. We'll bring our feet out. Our knees are bent. Take those arms out in front. Tuck your chin to your chest and slowly lower down onto your back. Taking your time to get there. Once you're all the way down, just hugging those knees in towards your chest. Maybe rocking side to side. And then let the arms go open to a T. Take those feet so they're at the height of the knees. And then take the knees over to the right. Your gaze over to the left. A nice spinal twist here. Slowing down. Remembering to just breathe. Letting go of any effort you're holding on to. Letting those shoulders just be flat on the mat. And then just gently begin to lift those knees back up to center. And then exhale over to the left. Your gaze over to the right. Finding space here. Making sure those shoulders are flat on the mat. Those hips trying to stack one on top of the other as you twist. And then slowly take those knees back up to center. Notice if there's any last minute things you need to do. Maybe a figure four, maybe a happy baby, maybe a plow. To get yourself going and settling into the final place of rest. If you're ready to just go there, let your legs go long. Bring your hands to a comfortable position wherever they may be. Today you might want to take up more space, maybe less space. Just letting it feel good. Letting those toes roll in opposite directions. Finding space in your Shavasana. Letting go of effort. slowly, slowly, when you're ready, invite some movement back into your body. Taking your time, the next 2 to 3 breaths. Just finding whatever works for you to make your way up to a seated position at the front of your mat. Knowing you have time, that you do not have to move fast. Maybe rolling over to whichever side you feel like to push yourself up. Maybe just grabbing up to your legs and rolling up, whatever works for you. And we'll slowly take that seat. Letting our hands come to heart center, bowing our chins in towards our chest. Showing gratitude for showing up for ourselves today, showing up for our practice. Namaste.